Hey, Lisa Ricosis, founder of Global One Health. Today's video is going to address a progression of two exercises that I did in the previous video, the marching and the bridge. Both are very basic core drills, core activation drills to help build strength endurance in the core structure. Because of your relationship to gravity that you're lying on your back, you have much less gravitational and no gravitational compression in vertical energy on the spine. So they're great for just basic drills for warming up at the beginning of a training session. They're great drills to be done on recovery days if you just have already had your workout, but you want to do a little bit something to hone in on strengthening the core, which many people need to work on addressing, is how to build core strength. So I highly recommend to do these drills. These two drills we're going to talk about today are just a progression from that first video. So we're going to get started. So I talk about the fundamentals of the basics in the bridge and the marching in that prior video, but today we're going to address how we can make them a little bit more challenging. So we're going to involve the bridging and the marching together and then do a bridge variation as well. So beginning on the back, legs bent, feet flat. As always, when your feet are in contact with the ground, you don't just want to passively just put your feet down and get started. You want to really utilize the ground as an important, very, very important force of resistance. So you want to think about that tripod of the foot, the base of the pinky toe and big toe on that ball joint, and the center of your heels are firmly pushing down into the ground. And notice my arms are not passively resting on the floor, right? The elbows and arms relaxed. I want to activate the muscles of my upper mid back and arms as well. So it's not just, while bridge does focus on glutes and hamstrings, you want the full body to be involved. It is a full body exercise. Therefore, you don't want to be relaxed from the, above the core, right? So you extend the energy of the arms, right? Energy moving in opposite directions creates more internal activation of the musculature. So it's going to give you more force production, even in a basic exercise like this. That translates even more powerfully when you get into more advanced exercises or exercises that have more demand in terms of load against the body, barbells, kettlebells, etc., right? So the energy of my arms is reaching in the direction of my feet. You'll notice that my elbows slightly float a little bit up off the ground because I'm reaching through my arms, fingers. Notice my shoulders don't come up. My shoulders stay down and down into my rib cage a little bit. And the energy of the arms is reaching through to get activation of my lat musculature, right? Very important, powerful muscles in the back and trunk. So the tripod of the feet is pressing actively into the floor. My arms are reaching in. I always start with my foot core sequence drill to get a good setup. Setup is so important. So take a big belly breath in. I exhale, engage, pat, pelvic floor abs. I press all 10 toes into the ground. I go up into my bridge. From here, I'm going to take the marching drill. So I'm going to keep everything engaged, the core, the back, the glutes, the hamstrings. Notice if I activate my hammies or want more hamstring activation, I think about sliding. I don't lift my feet up. I just think about pulling, actively pulling my heels towards my glutes. And you'll see this little bit of extra shift, which creates more energy and activation in the hammies and more of an opposition energy to give me more power and stability in my movement. So my hip bones are driving up by the contraction of the glutes. My core is pulling down into the spine and the floor, creating that vertical tension. And my pelvic floor goes up with the heel pull in, and my thighs are reaching in the opposite direction of my heels. Keeping everything tight, I take one leg up into chair pose. So that's that 90-degree angle of the hip and the knee, and then I bring it down. I can decide if I want to do multiple reps on the same side or alternate from leg to leg. If I'm staying on the same side, I'm going to maintain load in the down leg, so that doesn't get a break. My glutes are actively pushing my hips up. My heel is still pulling into my pelvis. Notice I don't drop my pelvis down when I lift my leg up. So it's not this movement. I'll move my arm out of the way, right? So you don't want to lose the height of your bridge. Whatever height you've established, the goal is to maintain the height of the bridge to whatever you can maintain good activation in the front and the back of the body and the height of the bridge. So now I'm going to load my left side. My glutes and hammies do not turn off. I'm simply staying on the one side. And then if I alternate, the important thing to think about in this variation is I give myself time to properly reset as I switch legs. So this involves a little bit more, I would think, nervous nervous system integration or involvement, because now I have to get my brain to quickly change sides in a much quicker every rep. I want to make sure not to be so quick to just lift my leg up. It's important that I push down into the ground, so I give myself just enough time, depending on your skill level, right? How quickly your brain can transfer into the loaded side can determine the tempo of your reps, but it's not just I'm lifting my legs up passively and they're getting to any random position, right? I want to push down on the down leg. It's just as important in the leg, if not more, because it's your supporting leg, right? So we talked about not letting the pelvis drop, keeping the height, and the angle of the chair pose matters. So if I bring my leg all the way into here, you may notice that your abdominals just turn off a little bit, or you get a little bit less activation. So I welcome you to experiment with this. The closer the knee gets to the chest, the less the abdominal wall needs to work because the leg is in a more relaxed position. If you keep that vertical position, you will actually feel, most likely, a little bit more core activation. So you want to try to maintain, I'm going to reset for the next drill, right? You want to maintain that activation, right? Or that angle, right, of the leg in relationship to your body. That really makes a difference, right? Because the goal at the end of the day is you want the maximum activation to work the hardest safely with good form and technique to get the maximum results, right? So the next variation is how to take a bridge and progress it from the basic bridge, hips up and down, the basic glute bridge, to a single leg bridge. So I'm going to go up into my bridge. I've already activated pelvic floor, abs, toes, arms are reaching. I decide on my down leg. I push that foot into the floor, slide that left heel into my body. I go up into chair pose. And now a single leg bridge, just as the name refers, I'm going to take a single leg glute bridge. I go all the way down to the floor, all the way back up, maintaining this leg is not drifting around in space. Try to maintain that 90-degree angle at your hip and your knee for chair pose. Now this is going to give you much more strength endurance because you're staying on the same side, right? So I want to push the foot down, pull the heel in, and always go through your checklist, making sure that you didn't forget about your core, thinking about your glutes, or forget about your hamstrings, thinking about the arm reach, right? You're trying to just go through the checklist, right? We'll take a few more on the other side. I reset, find the tripod of that foot, get my chair pose, tighten my core, and again, I take the bridges on this side. So the goal always is maximum activation, proper form and technique, as that is critically important to get maximum results. Which, if you're going to put the time in, you really want to get the most bang for the buck, as they say, right? Cleanest technique, cleanest form, work safely, work smartly, and you invest the time and you'll get the results. So that is how to progress bridging and marching. And that's all for today.